And welcome to the latest episode of Miss Doubles, the weekly darts podcast and chat here on Odds Now, and hot off the back of the conclusion of the latest TV major in the darting world, the Grand Slam of Darts, which concluded just last night with that man you know who, Luke Littler, winning his first TV ranking major, hot off the back of 9 other titles, some on TV and some off TV, that he has won in a blockbuster 2024. Matt Pieman Hill is with me as usual. I'm just ready to talk about the main man, really, Luke Littler. We're just living in his world, are we not?
I think we are, yeah. You had the odds for the World Championship running across the screen a minute ago, and I'm sure we'll pull them back up at some point. But with Littler now 9-4 favourite for the World Championship. Not surprised at that at all. I can't think anybody watching that yesterday wasn't extremely impressed, excited for what he's got to be able to do and bring to Alexandra Palace. But let's focus on this one first, because it was a real roller coaster ride for Littler. He had 2 overwhelmingly dominant performances against Jermaine Watamina in the quarterfinal and Martin Lukeman in a very one-sided final. But then in between those 2 games, he had 2 epic encounters where he was on the rack, to be honest, against Mike De Decker and against Gary Anderson. He's absolutely pulled a Houdini act to get out of those 2 games victorious. Different circumstances in both, as I'm sure we'll touch on. But I prefer to focus firstly on the brilliance of Littler, because he is just his special, isn't there? There's not a lot more you could say about him to get out of the situations he gets out of. And I think he has that aura, which Phil Taylor always had. Even when you think you've got him beat, you've still got to go and actually put the final dagger in, haven't you? And I think both Anderson and De Decker, they had him on the rack, bent over, but they just couldn't quite finish him off. And once he gets a chance, once he gets into them last leg deciders, you know he's going off with a 180, and it's brutal on a last leg decider. It is, and he was all class. And the game against Lukeman, it always felt like Littler Anderson was the final in everything but name. And unfortunately for Martin Lukeman, there wasn't much he could do. He went 2-0 up in that final, and then lost 15 consecutive legs. But yeah, he was just a spectator, wasn't he? Just as Watamina was a couple of nights earlier. Sometimes you just have to stand up and admire brilliance, and that's what it was.
Yeah, but we're saying Lukeman and Watamina. We're going to probably touch on it, unknown names, if you like, to the wider public, making deep runs into tournaments. But Martin Lukeman is in career best form. Jermaine Watamina in career best form. And Littler's lost 5 legs out of 39 to him. He's absolutely
Lukeman averaged 100 for a lot of the final, like 99, 90. I mean, yes, he wasn't laying a glove on him, but he wasn't playing badly. And I think he said that himself in his interview. Not like I didn't turn up. I just had to sort of accept it for what it was. It just felt like he was always a dart behind. And when Littler, I feel like Littler got that. We see this quite a lot in tournaments where when a big favourite gets through that scare, they just click into God mode. Humphreys did it at the World Championship last year. He should have gone out to Pietrezco. He come back and won that game. Had no right to win it. And then after that, he never looked like really getting beat. And even in the final, when Littler missed that pivotal dart, Humphreys just took control. And these great players, they have that in the locker, don't they? Just okay, this final isn't even a thing now. I've already won this tournament, beating Anderson. I think Littler knew that walking onto the stage. And Lukeman, as much as I'm sure he believed he could make that a fight, and I don't think he let himself down at all, but he was just playing a player on another level. And I think he admitted that. Actually, I really enjoyed his post-match interview. Really, really honest. And no bullshit. Just, classy interview.
I mean, obviously, everyone does a lot of talking about Luke Littler, and for good reason. And he's won 10 titles now this year, across the spectrum, if you like, of different tournaments. But this was different for me. This is a proper major. Now, I know we can argue about the definition of a major, but he went out early doors in the match play. He went out early doors in the Grand Prix, the Premier League. Is not for everybody, not ranking, etc. Bit of a slog. This is a proper tournament across a week. He's averaged comfortably over 100 in every game. He's come past some tests that we've not yet seen him come across. The likes of an informed Gary Anderson deep into a tournament. We've not seen that on TV as yet. Just absolutely brilliant. I think we should touch on also The other semi-final, and obviously one of them made the final, Martin Lukeman and Mickey Mansell, would have been any price you like before the start of the tournament. Both played well throughout the tournament. Didn't really have large chunks of luck to get there. Mickey Mansell, came through a tough group, etc. So did Lukeman. So yeah, just to comment on those guys really, and carrying on the theme of lower ranked players making finals, the likes of Ed House, Watamina, and now Lukeman and Mansell in this tournament.
Yeah, and you could go even deeper, couldn't you? The semi-finalists there and players that are enjoying like career best runs in the last few weeks in tournaments that, we wouldn't normally factor into the equations for who's going to go deep in majors. And I think if you watch every single one of these kind of players' interviews at the moment, there's a correlation there that there's now a newfound belief. I think seeing people like Richie Edhouse and Mike DeDecker lift titles, all those players around them in the rankings are now thinking, why can't it be me? I'm also not factoring in the likes of Ryan Joyce going to a Grand Prix semi-final, Luke Woodhouse going to a European Championship semi-final. It's not a flash in the pan, this. There's 6 or 7 mid-ranking players now who have gone really, really deep in majors in the last couple of months. And I think when it comes to the World Championship, we are probably going to be still talking about the cream of the crop. Most of the focus is going to be around those big names. But I saw somebody tweet, I do think this is the most open World Championship in recent memory, and I can understand why we would say that. And even if it doesn't end up being reflected in the eventual winner, we may well get a Humphreys or a Littler winning it. But I see no reason why this trend of shocks can't continue. I can see some really big upsets in individual match terms, even if it doesn't reflect in the eventual champion. So yeah, from a neutral's perspective, very exciting to see this newfound belief in that range of players. And on Mansell and Lukeman themselves, just reward for really solid seasons, I think, as well. Mickey Mansell is just somebody that you just won't have heard of him if you don't follow darts to a sort of deeper level, because he does all of his sort of hard work on the floor. But he's won a Pro Tour title earlier in his career. He's gone deep in several floor tournaments this season. He has beaten all of the big names on the floor, but it's just taking it to the stage. And early in the tournament, he was irked by the fact that James Wade couldn't remember his name when he was talking about who he was playing next.
Yeah.
And that seemed to be fuel to the fire. And good for him. He's found something now. Can he kick on, or is this his big moment? Well, he should just look to someone like Jermaine Watamina for inspiration. I thought Watamina's run to the European Championship final, that might be that. We might not hear that much of him for a little while, but he's continued it on again. And I think he has to be taken very seriously now as a dangerous opponent. And Lukeman, well, I've been harping on about Lukeman for a few months now. I think he's so talented, and I really admire his sort of mental fortitude. Just get on with it. There was 3 games there en route to the final where he fell behind early, and every time he just got on with the job. The most impressive one, and I know it would have been a painful one for you, was against Rob Cross. He was 4-1 down in that game, and he should have been
5-1.
Yeah, it should have been 5-1. Should have been cut adrift, to be honest. He was hanging on for dear life. But how he fought his way back into that game, I thought that was really, really classy. Like, it's some big finishes, and he wasn't at all influenced by the caliber of the opponent or the occasion. And I think it would be easy to say, "Oh, look, he didn't turn up for the final." I don't think he did. I think he was just up against one of the greatest players we've ever seen playing at the top of his game. And I think anyone could have been there, unless you're putting like a Humphreys Anderson or an informed Van Gogh in there. I think Littler blows anyone away in that position. So I think he can take bucket loads of positives away from it. And just one to put on the radar as well, he plays Connor Scott in the first round of the Players' Championship finals. When I had a look last night, Lukeman was a 6-5 underdog for that match. And I thought that's remarkable, really, when you think he's been in a major final the week before and he's an underdog. But that shows the depth of talent in the PDC. Looking forward to seeing what he does over the coming weeks, because he's banging form.
Well, there was 8 seeds going into the Grand Slam from Pool A, if you like, and only one of them made it to the last 8. That was Rob Cross. As you've mentioned, a load of so-called seeds went out first round. Luke Humphreys, chiefly. Dave Chisnell, torrid time for him, didn't win any of his 3 games. Michael Smith, again, that falling ranking, he went out in the group stage, and as did Michael Van Gerwen, as we well know. So yeah, it continued. The theme continues. And before we move on from the Grand Slam, Pieman, I've got to give you the opportunity just to comment generally on the semi-final that was Littler and Gary Anderson virtually broke the internet on a Sunday afternoon.
One of the best matches of the year. One of the great matches as well. One that people will be watching back on YouTube and Darts Gold in years to come as well. I think Anderson just sort of any lingering doubters about whether he really is able to bring that best form to the top stage. I think he just shows he can, and if his mind's right and his mind's set, then he's still as good as anybody at the moment. He really has refound, if not his top level, certainly something close to it. He roared away from Littler. He won 7 straight legs against Littler in the middle of that game. I don't think anyone will. I won't be surprised if no one ever does that again against Littler, to be honest. Given a lot of the games in the year are only first to 6, he was 7-4 down to up to 11-7 up, and he was just untouchable. There was a 1-6-4 in there to get him in at 7-all, and then there was a 1-4-2 in the next leg to get him 8-7, and that is real class, isn't it? Like, not many players in the world ever could do something like that against someone like Littler in that kind of game. So massive positives for Gary Anderson. I'm sure he's hurting. He really wants to win that Grand Slam of darts. He had it in the palm of his hands. I think he had 105 or something similar to win it in leg 30, and he missed the big number, which is very Anderson, actually. He does have that in the locker, really. And then he immediately went down to treble 19, no bother, straight afterwards without even hesitating. You just think, he'll never cease to amaze me how often these pros miss big numbers at big moments. It's amazing, isn't it? Just concentration. But yeah, Littler, he thrives on it, doesn't he? He loves it, absolutely loves it. The only other thing I would say about the Grand Slam is that game against Mike De Decker and the whistling generally. I don't know if we're going to come on to this in a separate subject, but it was really upset watching that as a fan. I just felt like the game wasn't allowed to play to a natural ending. And it's no fault of Littler. Thought he looked a bit embarrassed after it, really. But big questions to be asked about how we handle this kind of thing going forward as the sport of darts, because I think it's in danger of ruining the biggest games ever, really, over the coming years. So I think something needs to be done, but will it be done?
Yeah, well, De Decker was what, three legs in front, only needed to win one more, and the crowd got well involved. The commentators took absolutely no notice of it. De Decker came out after saying he asked the ref, and the ref did nothing about it. I don't know. Long are the days gone where Russ Bray used to say "best of order, please." They are long gone. We've been to the darts as recently as a week ago today. There is the party atmosphere is rife. That is what has made the sport so rich in terms of prize money and stars and viewing figures and attendees, etc. But the whistling, to me, is just that next level. It's the next level from chanting, stand up if you love the darts, your Torre. It's the next level up from that. It's disrespectful. It's no good. It doesn't help anyone. And but as you alluded to, what can be done about it? Probably not a lot. And what will be done about it? Probably not a lot.
No, but it's tough, isn't it? Because if you come into darts as a new fan of darts, and there's going to be a lot of them over the coming years, particularly with Littler's emergence, and you watch a big game for the first time, and you see two of the best players going at it, and the game is clearly influenced by the behaviour of people in the crowd. And people, it's an interesting one, and it's tough to compare to, isn't it? Because people say to me, well, look at football, look at other sports, like the crowd are very involved and no one complains about it. But dart is a little bit different to football. And it's an accuracy sport. It's a pinpoint accuracy sport. And a distraction as sort of vicious as a whistle, a sharp whistle in a crowd, is enough to have an impact on the performance. I don't think football fans chanting or shouting really is enough to have an impact. I mean, if they shouted abhorrent abuse, they'd probably be fined and banned. I don't think I've ever seen a darts fan fined and banned for any of their behaviour. I'm not a fan of some of the chanting that goes on at the darts. I think Yaya Toure and that, I mean, there's a place for it, isn't there? And whatever, if it floats your boat, whatever. But I don't think that harms a player's ability to perform. But I think the whistling does, and it bothers me. And there's been a few games over the years where it's impacted. It's only going to carry on because it's not being punished. I think if you stamp on these things early, you maybe can eradicate them. I would just like to see some messaging in the arena, just played out before a game. Like if you're spotted by a member of security team continuously whistling during the match, you can be removed from the arena. At least just try to deter it, and maybe just have one little bit of messaging before the game. Just a reminder, no whistling when the players are releasing the dart. Thanks. That's all it needs. And then I'm not saying that's going to get rid of it, but then at least they've tried to take a stance on it. I feel like they could do a VT. Like we still want you to have a good time at the darts, dress up, sing a song, chant, get behind the players, but just don't whistle. And I felt like there was a unified stance from big names in darts. A lot of the broadcasters, Abigail Davis, Dan Dawson, came out against the whistling after the game. Kurt Bevins, as you mentioned, came and said, here, I don't like the whistling. But then he also said, there's no point me saying anything. Well, I don't really agree with that. I think you should try. You are the match referee at the end of the day. I think you should do something. And if he feels like he can't make a difference, he's certainly in a position of power to say to the people at the PDC, we need to do something to try and eradicate this, because he obviously feels like it impacted the match. Luke Littler, to be fair to him, looked absolutely mortified, I thought, when he hit the winning double. Didn't even want to look Dedeker in the eye. Dedeker didn't look Kirk Bevins in the eye, handshake and off the stage. Absolutely berated him on on Belgian TV, as you said afterwards. Sort of said, what's the point of him if he's a match referee and he can't do anything? So, yeah, it's a messy situation. I feel like there'll be a game at the World Championships. Inevitably, they'll be impacted by this and it'll be sad and I will not enjoy watching it. But do I expect the PDC to act? Absolutely not.
Yep. Well, that tournament's had a pretty big shake-up on the World Championship betting. Only 4 weeks away now. Luke Littler was 7-2 second favourite for a fair few weeks, as Humphrey was clear favourite. Now 9-4 Littler. 9-4 is the best price you will get. Humphrey's out to 100-30. That's not a massive drift. It was around 3-1 this time a week ago. Van Gerwen is now 9-1, and Anderson a big mover, 22-1 the last time we spoke a fortnight ago, and now into 12-1. So yeah, and if you go onto Oddschecker, the fifth name listed on Oddschecker, it doesn't make him the fifth favourite. He's joint fifth favourite with others. The fifth name listed on Oddschecker is Mike Dedeker, believe it or not, for the World Championship, which is pretty crazy. I definitely don't agree with that individual price, but yeah, just shows where we are at the moment. You've got people like Gerwin Price and Michael Smith available at 33-1, previous winners.
I think you can have Mike Dedeker too much bigger, because I think everyone would like to back him now. And I'm not talking about the likes of me and you, but I'm talking about people who, you've got to remember, we're getting to a point in the year now where there's people who've not watched an awful lot of darts all year and they're looking for somebody to back at the World Championships. And I think when you're looking for people who could upset Littler and Humphreys, Dedeker's beaten Humphreys over the maximum distance in a Grand Prix final last month, and he's just lost the game to Luke Littler over a long leg format that he should have won. So I think people will point to that and think that he is a danger. He's playing, like we've referenced, a lot of players at the moment are in career best form. He's definitely one of them. So yes, would I be rushing to back him at 20-something? No, but I'm already on, and I'm feeling excited about that bet. But like you say, an unusual shape to the market with Dedeker in there. I can't believe we're finally seeing some, and I think these are right. I'm not necessarily arguing with them, but like some of the prices you're seeing now, Michael Smith 28-1, Gerwin Price 33-1. These are players we're used to be seeing at like just 10s, 12s as a standard, aren't they? So finally, I think that the odds makers have realised we're not going to lay a penny on these guys at their old prices. They've got to be pushed out in the market, and it'll be interesting to see if any money comes for them over the next couple of weeks, because after the Players' Championship finals, we'll have a lot clearer idea of how the draw looks, and we know how important the draw can be in these things.
Yep, and the odds for the Players' Championship finals, which takes place this weekend in Minehead, the last big TV tournament before the World Championships, the odds for that are virtually identical as the odds you can see along the bottom of your screen for the World Championship. Littler's favourite, Humphrey's second favourite, Van Gerwen, then Anderson, etc. We might as well touch on the Players' Championship then, Pieman, whilst we are at it. This is the top 64 from the 32 Players' Championship events throughout the season. Chaos expected early doors, through rankings, because the Players' Championship rankings are considerably different to the world rankings. Quick example, Michael Van Gerwen is ranked 17, Chris Dobie is ranked number 1, etc. And short format, early doors, best of 11 legs in the first 2 rounds. It gets longer after that. I love this.
Yeah, just a bit of Minehead chaos to wet the whistle before the World Championship. And it is quite a big break, actually, because this tournament all finishes over the course of 3 chaotic days. So after the 24th of November, we won't see another dart thrown by the PDC pros until Ali Pali. So we have like a 3-week hiatus and plenty of time for the likes of me and you to hype up the excitement for the World Championship. We'll have a big World Championship preview coming, which I'm sure we could touch on before we finish as well. But yeah, I love this tournament as well. Interesting to note, the last 3 winners of this tournament: Peter Wright won it in 2022 and went on to win the World Championship. MVG won it in 22. Oh, sorry, I'm a year out here. So 2021, Wright won it, won the World Championship the month after. The next year, MVG won it, got to the final, lost the classic final to Michael Smith. But I think if you remember that World Championship, MVG was just sweeping everybody aside until the final. And then Humphreys won this last year and went on to win the World Championship. So clearly, if you win this, it is a good omen for going very, very deep or winning at Ali Pali. I'm sure all the top lads will have their eyes on this prize. It is worth £120,000, which is not one of the biggest prize funds of the year, but is a massive prize fund in the context of the World Championship, because it can move you in where you actually sit in the draw. And I'll touch on that a little bit more shortly. But yeah, in terms of the tournament itself, like you say, a chaotic draw because of the new rankings system that's not using any other tournament. This is based purely on the 30 Players Championships. Means that the likes of Nathan Aspinall, who didn't turn up to a lot of Player Championships this year, is ranked number 64. He'll start against Chris Dobey. That's Chris Dobey's reward for finishing top of order of merit. Plays Nathan Aspinall round 1. Rob Cross and Luke Littler will meet in another fantastic game. And yeah, even these games where there's like, it's the like number 26 versus 42, they're great games. Best of 11, obviously, Pro Tour format for rounds 1 and 2. So I'd say the first 2 rounds is just about getting through by any means necessary. Then we settle into a proper darts tournament. And yeah, it's going to be a fun but chaotic weekend in Minehead.
I mean, it just makes a mockery, really, of the Grand Slam, which we've just come away from, because the players ranked 1, 3, and 4 going into this Players' Championship final were not in the Grand Slam. That's Chris Dobey 1, Damon Heta 3, and Ryan Searle 4. And you could go to Johnny Clayton in 10 if you wanted to. Did not compete in the Grand Slam, which is pretty incredible. Would there be anyone that stands out from the draw without going through every quarter or every game? Is there a couple that stand out for you as possible betting prospects ahead of the weekend?
Honestly, I like to leave this tournament and get involved in it on the Saturday.
Yeah.
I like to just leave it with the first round, because there's always a lot of chaos, and I feel like there's still value to be found after you've seen how that first round has panned out. So this is one of the few tournaments where I don't really fire too many bullets before it starts. You can imagine what it's like in Minehead, trying to cram 32 best of 11 games into one session. It's just chaotic. Some player we'll lose at least 2 or 3 big names early. I wouldn't, because of the nature of the tournament, i.e. short format, chaos, lot of stages and stuff, I wouldn't rule out another big outsider going really deep to the semis or something like that. But history does show us, if you look at the past winners of this tournament, it's very rare you get a shock here. Normally the cream rises. They're all trying to get in the best form for the World Championship. So I'd be very surprised if we don't have one of Humphreys or Littler in the final. And I know that's boring, but yeah. I'm sure we'll film a more detailed preview next week, and I'll maybe give it later in the week, and I'll give a little bit more away.
Yeah, I mean, I try and look at, he could go well there and he might get through to that draw. But because of the rankings and Luke Humphreys is ranked number 19 going into the Players' Championship finals, there's just everywhere you look, there's a banana skin, a difficult game. So you just have to try and kind of, be backing players that A, price related as always, but B, those in form. The one name I would mention, and it's a very, very big tournament for this man, I think, Gerwyn Price. Didn't play in the Grand Slam, has had a very quiet year. The ranking is due to drop. After the World Championship, if it doesn't go well for him, I think he's had a kind draw early on. First round against Thibault Tricot from France, and then it'll be Ryan Searle or Jeffrey de Graat in round 2. Neither of those are in great form, so he could settle himself into the tournament, which he likes to do. I made a bit bold statement a couple of years ago that he won't win another TV major. It's proven right to this stage. Could he be, on the wrong side of the mountain going down? Not that he's an old fella, or could he resurrect?
Right.
And will he be motivated to? He'll be going. He's a type of character that will think, I'm the forgotten man. let's go and rub it back in their faces. Let's let people know that I'm still in this game. That's what I'm hoping. What is the attitude he's got?
Well, I think I've said to you previously, I need to see some movement on his odds before I could get involved in him. He was too short at 12s, 14s, 16s, but we're finally seeing that movement now because everyone wants to be on other players. Price is getting out to a big price, pardon the pun. And I look at 33 for the Worlds, and obviously that's the Ali Pali crowd factored into it as well, which puts me off. But somewhere like this, you could easily see price going really deep. So yeah, I'm sure we'll save that chat for the tournament preview. But yeah, it's an interesting runner.
Yep, that's right. So we've covered quite a lot there in the weekly darts chat. Just a bit of a couple of notes, really. The World Championship draw is the day after the conclusion of the Players' Championship finals this weekend. So a week today is the World Championship draw, which I'm sure we will be reacting to live, if not pretty quickly after that. We're going to probably be looking at the Players' Championship finals in a more in-depth betting preview later in the week. And final note, you can now provisionally sign up to the Odds Now monthly newsletter, which will start in December. Matt's leading the way on that one. Weekly insight, exclusive tips from all of our experts, from darts to boxing, racing, and everything in between. So make sure you check that out as well on oddsnow.com. Any closing comments, Pieman?
Really, the only other thing would be to say that if you head over to dartsrankings.com, possibly my favorite website on the entire internet, other than oddsnow.com, obviously, then you can start looking at the provisional World Championship draw. This is a fabulous bit of kit, really. It can show you where everyone's going to be. Now, the main point to take from this is that all the guys in the sort of teens and 20s, they're going to move position and their draw is going to move quite significantly based on how they get on in Minehead. But there are some assumptions we can make very safely. Nobody's going to usurp Luke Humphries' top seed, so he's got to be in the top half of that World Championship draw. No one is going to usurp Michael Van Gerwen and Michael Smith. They might swap, but they're going to be in the bottom half. Now, this is the interesting bit. Rob Cross and Luke Littler are currently 4 and 5. Now, both 4 and 5 will go in Humphries' side of the draw. Littler can overtake Cross, but it would still put him in the top half of the draw. So it's highly likely Luke Littler and Luke Humphries are going to be on the same side of the World Championship draw. Obviously, very important information if you're planning to bet on this tournament. The only way that won't occur is if Littler goes out early in Minehead and somebody overtakes him and he drops back down to 6th. So the men that you want to be watching provisionally there are Dave Chisnell and Johnny Clayton, and they would have to go quite deep. So they'd need Littler to go out early, and you'd need one of Chisnell or Clayton to get to the semis. So I'm saying it's about 95% certain that Luke Humphries, Luke Littler, and Rob Cross are all going to be in that top half of the draw. Michael Smith, Michael Van Gerwen are going to be in the bottom half. As I say, anyone else beyond that, you're making big assumptions because the money's a lot tighter. A deep run from anyone will move them up 2 or 3 places and therefore shuffle it. But go over to dartsrankings.com if you're interested. Have a look on the live World Championship race and click see provisional draw, and you can see how it all maps up. At the moment, you also have Gary Anderson in Luke Littler's section as well. So it's looking like a chaotic World Championship. And Jan van Veen is one of the players who needs a deep run to get himself out of that horrific side of the draw and into the good side of the draw. So all good fun and all little sort of subplots to keep an eye on this weekend.
Excellent. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back soon on Odds Now, covering all sports, but specifically the darts on this show. Thanks for tuning in. See you later.